Hey guys, it's Howell again, and today I'll be bringing you book haul number 2 for 2017. I'm not really going to do these monthly because I'm not planning on really buying books monthly, but I ended up accumulating a lot of books. I think once I accumulate a decent amount of books, I'll do a book haul. So this ends up being book haul number 2 in 2017, which isn't bad, but I ended up accumulating a lot of books, so I figured it's time for me to do a book haul. I went to BookCon, and I actually didn't end up buying a lot of books at BookCon. I only bought 2 books at BookCon, surprisingly, and then I bought, I think it's like 5 books or so before BookCon so that I can take there to get signed. So yeah, and then a bunch of other stuff that I ended up accumulating. I went to Goodwill and bought a bunch of used books, and I went to the dollar store, and I bought some books on like Book Outlet and stuff. So yes, I'm going to share all of those books with you guys today. I'm going to try and keep this somewhat in order, but yeah, I can't really remember when I bought a lot of these books, especially the ones that, like the older ones and stuff. So yeah, I'll just tell you guys kind of where I got them from as I go on. The first couple of books I have are classics that I ended up picking up at Barnes & Noble. I picked up Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte, and then I also picked up The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. Oscar Wilde is one of the authors that we kind of studied in school, and I really wanted to read his like only actual novel that he wrote because we read a play by him that I really enjoyed, so I ended up picking up this one, and then also Wuthering Heights because yes, my teacher just kept talking about Wuthering Heights and everything, and yeah, they're beautiful editions. I had a coupon, so I ended up picking these up. Then I went to the dollar store, and a lot of people have kind of talked about some of the books that the dollar store has and how cool it is to kind of find these like hidden gems for $1 at the dollar store. I ended up picking up one book there, and that was Inland by Kat Rosenfield. This is supposed to be a YA kind of psychological thriller about this girl who her mom a couple of years earlier ends up like committing suicide. She ends up walking into the ocean and drowning herself, and now years later she has moved back, like she moved away from her town and moves back and is now getting kind of those same urges that her mom did and is hearing voices and she's seeing things in the ocean and stuff. So it seems like it's going to be a really cool kind of psychological thriller that takes place by like the water and stuff, so this will be perfect to read during the summer. Then I purchased some books from Book Outlet because I can't remember why. I think they had a sale or something. I don't know. But I picked up Frozen Tides by Morgan Rose, the 4th book in the Fallen Kingdom series. I've read the first one so far, enjoyed it, so I figured I would, eventually continue on with the series. So they had the 4th one on there really cheap, so I ended up picking up this one. And then I also picked up the Book of Spirits and Thieves. This is the first book in her kind of spin-off series within the Fallen Kingdoms world. So I've heard kind of mixed things about this series, that it's not as good as Fallen Kingdoms and stuff, but I'm still curious. This was still like super cheap. I mean, Book Outlet. So I ended up picking this one up also because I'm curious to kind of, get the whole story within this world. And then I also picked up from there The Winter's Kiss by Marie Rutkowski. This is the original hardback cover that I really wanted because the hardback covers are better than the paperback covers. And yes, I own the first 2 books in this trilogy, so I finally have the 3rd one so I can continue on because I read the first one last year and absolutely loved it. And I don't know why I didn't continue on with the rest of the series, but now I finally have the 3 books in this trilogy, and there's no excuse. And then the last book I picked up from Book Outlet was Nevernight by Jay Kristoff. This is an adult fantasy about this girl who I think she can control shadows or something like that. Like, I've heard it's really violent and very sexual. So then the next books were the ones that I actually ended up picking up at BookCon when I was there, and that was New World Rising and New World Ashes, both by Jennifer Wilson. This is a young adult dystopian series, and I hear from a lot of people that this is dystopian for people who have kind of lost their faith in dystopian. From like the reviews and stuff that I've heard and people here reviewing it, people who have kind of read too much dystopian and have gotten sick and tired of it actually end up really loving it. Like, there's some really good like nostalgia factor or something about this one. Like, it's dystopian that's done really well. I absolutely love these covers too, so I'm super glad that I got these 2 there. I'm planning on reading these in June. We will see what happens, but I'm pretty confident that I'll be able to get through these in June. I met Jennifer Wilson there and got these 2 signed, and she's just like absolutely like super nice. I really loved her, and I'm so glad that I finally have these 2 books. And then 2 books that I picked up right before BookCon so that I can take there and get signed were Restitution and The Order of Omega. So this is book 2 and book 3 in the Alpha Drive series by Kristen Martin. And I talked about book 1 in my May wrap-up because I read it in May, and I actually have already read Order of Omega the first couple days in June. So the only book I have left in this trilogy is Restitution, which I'm super, super excited to get into. I met Kristen Martin. I got all of these books signed, which I'm super excited for because I finally got to meet her, and she's just like super nice and wonderful. And she is a self-published author, so definitely support self-published authors. She's just awesome, and these are actually really, really solid books. Very enjoyable, very, very fast-paced. I'm really excited to get to the third book because I absolutely love this cover. I've really been enjoying this series so far, and I'm super glad that I got to meet the author while at BookCon while I was there. Then my wife actually ended up getting me a Book of the Month subscription for our anniversary this year, and for the month of June, I ended up getting A Million Junes by Emily Henry. This is a young adult retelling of Romeo and Juliet, and it's got some magical realism elements in there. I've heard it's kind of compared to 100 Years of Solitude, and for those of you who know me, know that 100 Years of Solitude is one of my absolute favorite books of all time. So when I heard it was a mixture between Romeo and Juliet and 100 Years of Solitude, I was sold. Like, it was so hard to choose a book, but once I heard that, I was like, you know what, I'm going to go with this one. And this has been, so far, the perfect book for this time of year with, like, the summer. Like, I felt with the synopsis and everything that this was going to be a really good book to read this time of year, and I've actually already started this one and I'm loving it. And then, like I said, because I have no order to this book haul at all because I just have so many books, another book that I ended up actually picking up at BookCon was an ARC, and that was No Good Deed by Goldie Moldavsky. I think that's how you pronounce it. This is supposed to be about this group of kids who go to the summer camp to do good deeds, but then they all kind of start sabotaging each other, like, in the summer camp. So the good deeds that they're doing technically don't end up being good deeds because they're all kind of sabotaging each other because they all want to win kind of like this contest or this competition that's going on between all of these kids at the summer camp. It sounds really fun, really cool. I was like walking by a table and they were like putting all of these ARCs out on this table, so I ended up grabbing one because I think this book is already out. I'm pretty sure I saw it at Barnes & Noble last time I was there a couple days ago. And yeah, that's probably why they had so many like leftover ARCs, because the book had already gotten released, so they were just like handing them away. So I was actually able to snag a copy, which I'm really glad because it actually sounds like a book that I'm going to enjoy. Then I also picked up This Savage Song by Victoria Schwab. This is the first book in the Monsters of Verity duology. A lot of people here on BookTube have talked about this, know about this book. It's about a world where monsters are created through acts of violence. So depending on how severe the act of violence is the monster that's going to kind of spawn out of that act of violence. I've heard amazing things about this one so far. There's no romance in it, which I'm super excited about. And the second book in this duology comes out like in a day or two or something. So I'm really excited to finally have a copy of this first one because I ended up like picking it up from the library last year when it first came out and then just like never having enough time to read it, and I had to, you know, return it and stuff and just never got a chance to read it. So I'm finally glad that I have a copy for myself so I can get into this series because, like I said, I've heard absolutely wonderful, wonderful things about this book. And I picked up a book that is very controversial, I feel, here on BookTube. Like, a lot of people have been talking about it since it came out because of its content and everything, and that is Carve the Mark by Veronica Roth. This, like I said, has a lot of like negativity and stuff surrounding it because of the issues of race and stuff that are dealt with in this book, but I wanted to pick it up to see and to like make my own opinions on it. And then I also ended up picking up Behind Closed Doors by B.A. Paris. This is an adult thriller about this couple who I think they're like pretending to be a really good couple or very happy couple. Like, everybody around their town sees them as a very happy couple, but they've got some secrets that they're hiding. And I've heard some things about this one. I feel like a couple of people recently here on BookTube have read this book and have enjoyed it and stuff. And I saw it in the bargain bin at Barnes & Noble, so I had to pick it up and find out for myself. It's a quick one. And then the last pile of books that I have were all from Goodwill. I actually ended up going into Goodwill the other day for completely different reasons and then just kind of browsed their book section because sometimes I've gone into Goodwill and they might have one book or maybe two that I'm somewhat interested in, but I wasn't going in thinking that I was going to find so many books that I really, really wanted to read. And there were a lot of books that I really, really wanted to read, and they were all like $2 each. So I'm super, super excited that I found all of these. The first book that I found there was The Good Girl by Mary Kuba. This is another adult mystery thriller about this girl who kind of meets this guy, I think at a bar or a party or something, and then goes home with him, and then like these things that happen with this guy, like, shouldn't have gone home with that guy. But yeah, either way, I almost actually bought this book at full price a couple of days before this, and I'm glad I didn't because I ended up finding this one for $2. Then I also ended up finding The Subtle Knife by Philip Pullman, the second book in the His Dark Materials series. I grabbed a copy of the first one a while ago that I found at a thrift store that was in like terrible condition. But I still, wanted to read it, so I grabbed it, and then I found the second book at Goodwill, and I think they had the first book there, so I'm probably just going to end up rebuying the first book because my copy of the first book that I have is just in absolute terrible condition. There's so much water damage on it. And then I also ended up finding The Hypnotist Love Story by Liane Moriarty. I read Big Little Lies by Liane Moriarty a couple months ago and absolutely loved it. So since then I've been wanting to check out more stuff by her, so I found this one. From the synopsis, from what I remember, I think it's about this woman who falls, or she's like a hypnotherapist and like falls in love with this guy, but the guy is like being stalked by his ex-girlfriend or something. So yeah, sounds interesting. I really enjoyed Big Little Lies, like I said, and Liane Moriarty's writing style and everything, so I'm curious to pick up more by her, so I'm glad that I was able to find something at a very cheap price. And then the most exciting find at Goodwill was The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. This I was so excited to have found for $2 there because this is almost this is in brand new condition. Like, it's insane how well of a condition this book is in. I've been wanting to read it for a long time. I had just left Barnes & Noble literally right before I went to Goodwill, and they had like the new 20th anniversary edition there that I actually almost ended up buying. But I'm so glad I didn't because I found this one there for $2. I'm super excited. I've read stuff by Paulo Coelho before, and I really enjoy his writing style, and I've heard amazing things about The Alchemist. So yeah, this is definitely going to be one that I'm going to check out fairly soon because it is really short. And like I said, I've heard absolutely amazing things about this one. And I also ended up picking up The Second Summer of the Sisterhood by Anne Brashears, I think it is. This is the second book in the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants series. I picked up the first one like back when I went to like the thrift store and stuff and got that one fairly cheap, and I've been wanting to kind of collect these. I don't know if I'm going to end up reading these or if my wife's actually going to end up reading the series or not, but they had the second one there. I had to pick it up, couldn't pass it up because I feel like this is going to be a somewhat cute story, and I know this follows the four girls like as they're growing up, so high school, college, like adulthood and stuff. So I'm definitely interested in that because it goes into the future and deals with these four girls and what's going on as they grow up. So the books go from being YA to like new adultish and stuff. So I'm definitely interested in reading through these and kind of seeing what happens with like their stories and these four girls as they kind of live their lives and all of the things that happen to them. And the last book in this entire haul, because I feel like this footage is going to be so long and this video is going to be so long, was Any Dark Dark Wood by Ruth Ware. Yes. I don't really know what this is about. I've heard about it like here on BookTube. A lot of people have talked about it. And her other book, The Woman in Cabin 10, came out a little while ago and people were talking about that one also. So yeah, I was excited when I found this one because yeah, I think it's a horror story, something. I don't know. But either way, I like mystery thrillers and horror and stuff, and because it was something that I recognized, I definitely had to pick it up. So yeah guys, that is it for this somewhat massive book haul that I had. I've been trying to somewhat control my book buying, but that is not happening. Like, I definitely have to go back and rearrange my bookshelves at this point. Like, I'm trying to rework a lot of this stuff. As you guys can see, there's a huge gap behind me because I used to have a TV mounted to the wall there, which we ended up getting rid of. So I want to kind of like fill that gap in with like more shelving and put more books so yeah, I can fit more things. And I'm probably going to end up putting a lot of my books that I'm not reading or don't want into storage for now, so that there's, you know, more organization back here. So yeah guys, that is it. This has been a long video, I feel. There's just a lot of books in this haul. Let me know if you guys have read any of these and like what your thoughts and stuff were on a lot of them, and then maybe it'll sway me to pick some books before other ones. Thank you guys all again for watching, and I will see you all next time.